Hey, what is up, everyone? So it's once again time to do one of these Sea of Thieves surveys again, which should be about either season 17, I'm assuming, or it could be something else. And if it's not interesting, of course, I'll probably just delete this video. But, like we did last time, they sent out one of these big surveys. I thought it'd be fun to go through, and I'll give my thoughts on like some of the questions and just like my thought process when answering some of these, and we'll just have some fun with it. So I'm probably gonna just skip through a lot of these pretty quickly because these are kind of generic questions that we did last time. But I'm play these in the last week, how often? Currently it's daily, but I think I'll still stick to 2 3 times a week, just because right now I'm just playing for the event. Plan PC, solo and with friends. How many playing Sea of Thieves over here? Yes. Why do you play Sea of Thieves? Experiment. Sandbox, sure. Spend time with friends. I'll put narrative content, sure. PvP for sure. Not really the role playing aspect. I wouldn't really say Sea Thieves is that relaxing of a game usually. Challenge myself to get better. I'll say that. And more to escape everyday life. Sure. Which of the following types of Sea Thieves content or experiences do you enjoy? So trading voyages, trading company voyages. I'd say 2 probably. There's a few that I like, not too many. World events. Stealing them I like a little bit more, so I'll give it like a bump for that. World regions, I'm gonna say not at all because they kind of just don't really feel that distinct to me. They all kind of the same. So there's no real reason to really explore that much, especially if you've been playing the game for a long time. Emergent encounters, not really. I find the Krakens and Megalodons a bit annoying usually. They usually don't happen when you want them to happen or when you're trying to have like that kind of interaction. It's usually like when you're in the middle of a fight or something and it's just kind of messing with you. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of like one of those like random factors in the game that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, but in terms of like actually enjoying that content, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it too much. Shared PvP world, yep. Friendly encounters with other crews, I'll say like a 4 for that. Emissary play I think I feel like I'm more neutral in emissary play currently. I feel like it was good, but now it's kind of just gone stale, especially with the lack of new ledger rewards for the emissary ledgers, except for the couple of new ones that we've gotten. Hourglass battle factions, definitely not. Guilds, I'll put like a 2 for that, I guess. The only thing I really like about that is you get the save your ship presets. So captaincy, that's probably like a 4. Buying cosmetics for golden doubloons. Currently, I'd say like a 2 because they don't really put too many cosmetics and stuff that I actually buy with golden doubloons. Tall Tales, I'm gonna give like that a neutral. And live events, I don't know. We'll do a neutral for that one as well. What other multiplayer games do you play? Fortnite. I guess Lego Fortnite. Sure. When you play Sea of Thieves, how often do you encounter the following? Seeing other players' ships, multiple times per session, combat with other players' ships. I guess I should put both for those. Communicate with other players and crews. I'd say maybe every few sessions. It's really only if the other person has voice chat, and I feel like that's becoming less and less frequent for me. Have a positive interaction. I'd say every few sessions as well. Do you feel the current frequency of player encounters in Sea of Thieves is overall too low? Definitely too low. These are interesting questions they're asking this time. I thought it was going to be something different, but this is definitely talking about, the stuff that we've been complaining about. And I think the main culprit for all of this, and I've talked about it before, is the diving mechanic. Ever since they introduced that, technically it was introduced with Season 8, but it really got amplified in terms of being like a lot worse of a thing in the game with Season 11. Because everyone was so easily able to dive between different voyages and stuff, it just made it so that people were going in and out of servers so quickly that you really couldn't like find anyone, and the server never really had almost its own identity because it was just basically interchangeable with everything else. So like if you used to be able to go back in the day when you got into the game, you could go to the different emissary tables and then see how many emissaries are on that server, and then like what kind of experience you're gonna get for that night. So maybe if you saw like a bunch of Reapers on there, you might want to quit the game and then join back in, go to a different one if you're just trying to do like PvE stuff. But if you were say trying to do PvP stuff, you go on there and you see like a couple gold hoarders, a couple of Athena's Fortune emissaries, that kind of stuff, you might want to stay in there if you're trying to go and like do like a sneak play or something else like that. So you don't really have that anymore because there's really no point to looking at the emissary tables because everyone jumps in and out of the server so quickly that by the time you get over to the side of the map that they might have been at, they're already gone. So the emissary system's kind of broken, which is kind of why I was giving it a little bit less earlier when they asked. But let's take a look at this. Do you feel the current frequency of friendly player encounters in Sea of Thieves is, I'd say it's just right. It really depends on, what's going on, to be honest. Like, people can be friendly, but if there's something worth stealing, everyone's going to be trying to backstab each other. So, like right now with the Chest of Fortunes, there's less friendly encounters going on with that unless you've already finished your Chest of Fortune combinations. Do you feel the current frequency of PvP encounters is too low? Same with the sophomore players. What does negative encounter mean to you? I was about to go into this next question is really asking about, which is what does toxicity mean to you in the context of Sea of Thieves, which I talked about in another video already. So negative encounter and toxic encounter, different things. So I think this first question is a little bit hard for me to answer because I feel like a negative encounter, you could take that many ways. For like, on the one hand, you could say negative encounter is just any encounter that you basically lost your stuff at. Like if you got sunk, the other team might have been better than you or whatever the case might be. But I don't really think that's what they're trying to get at for this question. So I feel like they're trying to get more at like what's kind of like one level below toxic encounter. Like they're trying to ask about toxicity in the next question. So I think this is supposed to be kind of like one level below that. And I think this might be the point where I might throw in, players that are abusing exploits or mechanics, quick swapping, which they brought back in this recent update, which I'm someone that's against it, but I don't really want to get into that topic because I know that that is very divisive within the community, especially with the minority of players that really are big fans of that mechanic. But it's something that I don't really like because I feel like it's not balanced at all with the other weapons in the game. But players that are, and when I say like exploits, there's like, for example, we were going up against one crew the other day, and they were able to park their ship in a spot that they could not be sunk at, no matter what you did. So we were trying to fight them and everything, but even when they took like 2 black powder kegs and everything like that, there was just no sinking them, and that has happened a few times over the last like couple weeks. So kind of like exploits like that. Quick swapping, I think, is an exploit that they've kind of made like official, kind of. They've at least like acknowledged it, I guess, and brought it back. They removed the mechanics that were blocking it. That's probably good enough for that. I mean, I don't really care about trash talking. I think that's going to get more into the toxicity side. And for toxicity side, I'd probably say slurring, or maybe something basically on the lines of spawn camping and not allowing the ship to sink. I think that's very key because, like we talked about in that toxicity video, being on someone's ship and like killing them over and over again is not toxic, at least in my opinion. But what can be toxic is if you are killing them, but then you're bucketing and repairing their ship and stuff, and you're not actually trying to sink them, you're just trying to basically stay on their ship and bother them as long as you can. Now, for the people that still, get mad and say that spawn camping is toxic, you have at any point, you're able to go ahead and scuttle your ship or scuttle to new seas if you want to just get into a whole new server. You might not like that, of course, but that's, part of the game. If someone's going to be on your ship and you don't want to deal with trying to fight it and take back control, you always have options to be able to get out of that. But I do think that, someone getting on your ship and just spawn camping you and trying to purposely not let your ship sink so that they can keep just messing with you over and over again is not the right way, and it's a bit toxic. So I think that answers it enough. Yeah, it looks like they're going more into like the player interaction side, so I'm interested to see like what they're actually trying to get from this survey for this time. But how much do you personally consider the following behaviors toxic in Sea of Thieves? Perfect, let's go ahead. Trash talk, Not really, no. Trash talk, I think, is just part of the game. Griefing, repeated targeting. Repeated targeting is kind of like, I think this is a hard question. I'm gonna put a 4 for it, but you know, you could take it multiple ways. You could have the example that I was just talking about with the spawn camping and to sink your ship. So this is not at all. But if you had the opposite of this, where you weren't trying to sink the ship, that would be, I think, like, toxic. But with the griefing side of things, they could be going another route with it. They could be saying something on the lines of, like, say someone that, you know, you sink over and over again. Maybe you're doing like a world event or something, and they keep coming back to attack you. I don't think that's wrong either. If you have treasure and stuff to go for, then I think they're all on their right to like keep trying to come and get it as long as they want to keep trying. I do think the game needs to have some mechanics though in place that like if you know, get sunk repeatedly in the same area, you should be pushed further and further back in terms of where your spawn is. So, you know, if you're on, you know, if you get sunk by a Sanctuary Outpost, and then, you know, you get spawned back, say, you know, somewhere around like Hidden Spring Keep or something, and then you go back, get sunk again, it should push you further, maybe back to like Crooked Mast or further than that. So I think that's how they should probably handle it, but I think they're also looking at within the Insider program that if you sync multiple times within a short duration from the same crew, it will automatically kick you to a new server. So that's probably what they're talking about with this question, at least. Hate speech. I guess hate speech, it depends on how they're defining it, but I'm probably going to go with the 5 because I want to be generous in terms of, I think, you know, they're looking at like really bad hate speech and not like stuff that can be misconstrued or might be like joking. I don't know. Unwanted PvP is not toxic at all. It's part of the game. Mic spamming, I think that's when like someone's like blaring noise through this mic and stuff, which I'm gonna give that a 4. I kind of hate it. And we just like encountered this the other night actually with someone that was blaring like loud sound effects that like want to burst your eardrums and stuff. And I think it's very annoying, but I don't know if I would necessarily say put it at the level of being toxic. I kind of put toxic at a little bit higher of a level. Cheating and exploits, yes. Exclusion slash gatekeeping. I'm gonna put that no. I feel like that, I didn't mean to answer that yet. I feel like they're trying to say with that is supposed to be like people are saying that exclusive cosmetics can't come back or something like that. Like that's kind of what I usually hear about gatekeeping in the past. I'm not exactly sure if what they're trying to refer to that though in terms of being toxic. Roleplay abuse, I don't even really know what that is supposed to refer to either, so I guess I'll just leave it as not at all. Spawn camping to troll you, here we go. Yeah, I think that is. I like that they separated these two, just like how I was talking about. Interference with story content. I feel like now with story content, you can access it within safer seas. So if you are purposely going into high seas to do your tall tales and stuff, that's on you. In the past, I probably would have put this out like a 4 if safer seas didn't exist. But now that safer seas exist, you have nothing really to stand on for that argument, I think. And I've seen people in the past that like will put like emissaries on and stuff when they're going to do tall tales, and then try to say like that we shouldn't sink them because they're doing a tall tale. If you have an emissary flag or if you have treasure on your ship, I'm gonna try to steal it. I don't care if you're doing a tall tale or not. If you want to just do tall tales and you don't care about getting treasure or doing your emissary and that kind of crap, go into safer seas. Being chased at sea, not at all. I think that's part of the skill part of this game and knowing like the mechanics of the game. If you can either catch up to the person's ship or if you can get away from a person that's chasing you, that's just, I think, part of the game. Encountering crews who fight for no reward. So I think it's hard. It depends on like what's going on. Like I'll fight people that have no reward, but a lot of times I'll just kind of leave. But that's not because it's toxic. It's more so that it's a waste of my time, really. But I think I'm going to give it just a 2, just because, you know, it can be a little bit toxic. It can get into that point of like the kind of similar to the spawn camping, I think. Loot stealing. I mean, it's a Thieves game. It's literally called Sea of Thieves. Okay. Players hiding on your ship, tucking. Hey, look, it's a question about me. We're going to put not at all for that. Other crews dumping your loot into the seas. No. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but I feel like there's valid reasons to dump people's loot into the seas. For example, if you get onto someone's ship and you're in between them spawning and you're trying to wait for the ship to sink, there might be a good reason to try to dump some of the treasure over the ship because that means it'll take them longer to leave that spot. So if they do kill you, then they'll have to take a moment to grab that loot out of the water, or they'll have to just leave it. It'll be kind of up to them at that point. But that kind of gives you a chance to either get your person's ship back, or like your crewmate to bring back their ship, or if you to go back and respawn and bring your ship back over. Either side. So I think if it's for strategic reasons, there's no real reason why that should be considered toxic. But I don't know. I don't really think it's toxic at all. Other players boarding your ship. Some of these questions, I feel like I'm a little bit worried that I feel like they're kind of start catering to the crowd that thinks everything is toxic. And I'm interested. I guess maybe they're trying to put this out to see see if these people as a whole think about these things. So if you're watching this video and you haven't done the survey, I would recommend you maybe start. You can do it while you watch the rest of this video if you want, but definitely want to get your voice heard on this. But are there any other behaviors you consider toxic in Sea of Thieves? No, I think we'll go ahead with that. Okay, so how often do you encounter a behavior you consider toxic in Sea of Thieves? I'll put sometimes. What form does this usually take? In-game voice chat for sure. Xbox Live Chat. I would say it's mostly those. Oh, I guess I'll throw in gameplay. But mostly those two, the voice chat and the Xbox Live Chat. How often do you encounter the following behaviors? We just went through this. Kind of. Trash talk, 3, I guess. Griefing, say a 4. We've had people that will definitely keep... This actually just happened last night. We had a ship come by and keep trying to gun for us, even though we didn't have anything, but they were mad that we sunk them because they were getting close to the world event that we were doing. And I think they came back 6 times and we kept sinking them and stuff. Griefing, I feel like is meant to be that you kept losing and someone kept chasing, coming to kill you, and you kept losing maybe. But I feel like griefing can work in the other way, where you were the one that keeps winning, but you keep getting attacked by the same person, and not really for much reason either. Hate speech, very rarely. Very, very rarely, I think. Unwanted PvP, no. I feel like if you don't want to go into PvP, go into Safer Seas. I feel like it's just very clean cut. So if you are in high seas, you're not necessarily saying that you want to have PvP, but you should be at least expecting it. That's kind of my thought on that. Mic spamming, I'll give that 2. It's funny that just happened recently, actually. And it doesn't really happen that often, but since it just happened so recently, I'll put it as a 2. Cheating and exploiting, I'm gonna give that a 4. And it depends on the update. Some updates it feels like it gets a lot worse. Other updates it feels like it gets a little bit better, and then just keeps going back and forth in this endless battle of going back and forth in terms of being a lot of exploiting or not. Exclusion / gatekeeping, not at all, I guess. I don't know. Roleplay abuse, I don't really know what they try to refer to with that. Spawn camping to sink your ship, I guess that happens often, but I don't view that as toxic. And I would say to troll us, say a 3. It happens a little bit more often than some of these other ones, but not too often. Usually we can get rid of them, to be honest. Interference with story content, I would say not at all. Being chased at sea, yeah, you get that all the time. Encountering crews who fight for no reward, yeah, I'll put that as very often. Loot stealing, sure. Players hiding on your ship. So actually, I can't even remember a time that someone's actually successfully tucked on my ship. There's been times where people have boarded my ship and stuff, but I usually catch them. I'm trying to think of a time that someone actually had gotten onto my ship and either I caught them or they did successfully steal something or whatever. And I don't think there's ever been a time that someone's actually tucked on my ship successfully or for a period of time. But I think I'm just kind of so used to tucking that I'm more observant about that kind of thing and always checking around. So it doesn't really happen too often. Now, I will say tucking on islands, though, that still is somewhat of a thing that I encounter, especially at world events. Other crews dumping your loot into the sea. I'd say rarely. Other players boarding your ship. Yeah, all the time. Has toxic behavior ever made you stop playing Sea of Thieves temporarily? Um, yeah, but not for very long. Not for a very long time. Has repeated exposure to toxic behavior made you consider quitting? I would say no, but there have been like times where there's been like like increases of toxicity, where like whether it's some of the other things we just had gone through those different lists, where those happen like back to back nights, and then that makes me like, okay, I don't want to play for a couple weeks. So that's the most, but I always keep coming back to Sea of Thieves. Does toxicity affect your willingness to recommend the game to others? I would say slightly. Most of that would be for people that I don't think could handle like some of that interaction, or maybe if it's like someone younger, I would maybe be a little bit more hesitant to like recommend the game to someone that's like younger than me, maybe, unless they were just gonna play like safer seas. Have you ever reported another player for being toxic? Yes, I actually have. Fun fact, that TikTok that I posted the other week where that guy was like slurring all a bunch and talking about how the game is not, that you should like do the work yourself and not steal things from others and stuff like that. Uh, since I already had that recording, see if the support saw that, and they sent me a message saying that that guy got suspended for temporarily or whatever. So I thought that was kind of funny. That will definitely make them more mad than losing the treasure in the first place, I think. If you experience toxic behavior in Sea of Thieves, how often do you report it? I would say about half the time. Really the only time that I report stuff is if they're like slurring, like kind of like the big slurs, I would say. When it's like just kind of trash talking or something that's like maybe like kind of borderline toxic but still kind of in the line of trash talking, or if they're doing like the quick swap mechanics and stuff, because quick swap, I feel like Sea of Thieves have said that they're okay with that, so I'm not going to report that and waste my time doing it. So those kind of different examples are kind of like times when I would or would not report, but that's just kind of me for my own self, I guess. Have you recently reported toxic behavior in Sea of Thieves more or less than you used to? I'd say about the same. I don't really report too often. It's maybe like once or twice a year at most. How have you reported? Usually by the website. How satisfied were you with the outcome? I guess I'll give it a 4, but I also feel like there's not much visibility on what actually happened. Yeah, I guess I'll put that here. Not much visibility on what happened to the player or how long that punishment will last. Because I feel like that's the thing, like, you have no idea if the person that you reported got, banned from the game for, a day, a week, a month, forever. We don't really know. So, and they also just brought back a bunch of people that were banned. So, I feel like that's one of the key parts of this, because like if people are only getting banned for a day, I'm not going to waste my time putting in the work to put in a report. And putting a report's not that hard, to be honest. It's usually pretty easy, at least for someone like me that records a lot of the time. I usually already have the recordings. Other people that don't record all the time might be a little bit harder. But if it's only going to be like a day suspension, then I really don't care to go and put the effort in to do that. What do you think would help reduce toxicity in Sea of Thieves? This might be, a disappointing answer, but I feel like nothing really, because I think toxicity is just kind of human nature in some ways. So for any given group of individuals, you're always going to have like a percentage of like bad apples or whatever, or just like the toxic people. So you could try to just ban them all, I guess. That's really the only way, but then you're just going to, keep expanding the definition of toxic, because once you get rid of like the really toxic people, okay, well now other people start looking toxic, like we've seen. It used to be back in the old days of Sea of Thieves where, someone, yelling at you the N-word or other stuff like that, that was pretty clear coat toxic, and, if they were just doing that kind of stuff. I have one clip a long time ago, like this like maybe 4 years ago or something now. The guy was yelling like the N-word repeatedly to me and my crewmate, saying that they hope that Like our moms and sisters and brothers all die from cancer and all this kind of crazy stuff.
Shoot me. Fuck off, you fucking pussy.
Alright, move.
Ahoy! We're looking for new friends on the seas.
Hey, stop it.
Damn.
Alright, time to kill him. Let's go.
You dirty.
Dude, what's with that people on this game calling me the N-word? Alright, come on. Travis, I believe in you. Yes! Okay. If you can line them up, I'll try to get on and kill them.
Alright.
No fucking truth kill. So let them niggas do what they do. Hey, you know your mom's gonna die of cancer?
They got some stuff.
I hope your whole family dies of cancer. I hope your sister gets raped when she steps at her door tomorrow.
Got him!
We got killed, Summer Gun!
That's a rip, my guy.
Oh, gotta play this fucking game. Like a bunch of people who don't play it that fucking much.
Jeez.
Dang. That was clear coat toxic right there. Probably even worse than that, maybe. But nowadays, I feel like once you start getting rid of those people, now, you know, the player base starts looking at other stuff as being, like, toxic now. And as you saw some of those postings, or even just, like, some of the clips or comments that you see on my videos, people are now saying that stealing treasure in general is toxic. Being on someone's ship and, you know, killing them multiple times is toxic, even if you're trying to sink the ship. Stuff like that, I'm noticing people are starting to shift to say those things are toxic too. So that's my only, like, concern. I feel like you can't really get rid of toxicity, but even if you ban all the people that we say are toxic now, that definition of what's toxic keeps encroaching more and more until more of the player base is gone. I guess the best thing I can say for them is to fix exploits and unfair mechanics in the game and ban the most toxic players for good. I mean, that's really, I feel like, all you can do. I just feel like as long as they don't keep pushing that boundary of what actually is considered toxic. And I know everyone's going to have different opinions on what that is, but I do kind of worry about that definition of toxic in terms of Sea of Thieves expanding too far. To what extent would you support the following? Strong enforcement and bans? Yeah. For if it's deserved, I'm all for enforcement of that. Community-led guidelines? Put that as a 3. This might be a hot take, but I don't really trust the community to make decisions. Like, I saw all the backlash last year when they were trying to balance the weapons, so then they only got halfway. They really only, like, nerfed the blunderbuss, but then changed any of the other ones that they were going to change because everyone would start backlashing. Same thing with, like, the quip swapping and stuff, or, you know, other things that the community say are, like, top priorities that we need to get fixed or done that will help the game. I feel like oftentimes the community is not correct on a lot of these things, but so I'm not sure how I feel about community-led guidelines in that sense. Reduction in PvP, no, that's like the bad problem with Sea of Thieves is that there's less PvP now as opposed to before. Fewer interactions with players, no. Better onboarding and education, yeah. I don't think Safer Seas or the Maiden Voyage are sufficient to training new players. Personally, I feel like Safer Seas is flawed in concept for a numerous amount of things. It's great for tall tales and, like, the PvE, like, lore stuff if you're trying to do that. And, you know, can be good for players that are trying to, like, learn how to sail and, like, learn the map and that kind of thing. But really a better onboarding process would be something that's, like, kind of in between Maiden Voyage and Safer Seas, where you have, like, AI, but kind of looks like player ships, kind of like what we talked about with the merchant vessels. If we were going to have that Grand Maritime Union come in, we talked about that in that idea video about having roaming Grand Maritime ships. I feel like if you had somewhere where new players could learn how to do ship combat and, you know, actual on the ground combat a little bit better with at least, like, some, you know, bots maybe, that would be a little bit better for onboarding. I don't know what else I will do for that. Incentives for positive behavior. I don't think I like that. Because what is considered positive behavior? Does not stealing count as positive behavior? If they're gonna do stuff like, here's a great example. They have the gifts that you're supposed to give, and you have to like give the gift and have someone else turn it in. That's one of the worst like combinations to do because you can never get someone to go with you to Reaper's Hideout to sell the gifts. You're literally trying to give them treasure, and they won't do it. I literally have a clip that we took last night. It's like this fresh in my mind, where we had a bunch of humble gifts all sat in Reaper's Hideout, and we went out to this person that was pretty close by Reaper's Hideout, and we're like yelling in the mic, "Hey, we got some humble gifts and stuff. We're not trying to take your treasure or anything. We just wanted to ask if you would go sell it." What do they do? Immediately start attacking us. So like, you can't be nice to people in Sea of Thieves because that's what happens to you. But if they're gonna make more stuff like that, I am not in favor of it at all because I don't want to deal with that anymore. I want to get that combination done and never deal with that kind of type of activity again. And then improved reporting tools, that can always be good, I guess. It would be nice if Sea of Thieves on their side started recording stuff, so if you were to report immediately, it would basically ask you, like, hey, do you want us to send in the last, 2 minutes of either gameplay from your point of view, or maybe, like, just the voice recordings from where you were? That I think would be a lot better, so that's not on the player side that you have to be the one that's recording everything and then send it to them as a clip and stuff, because that's what it kind of is right now. If you don't really have that clip, you are less likely to have any sort of punishment or anything happen to that person, even if they deserve it. So I think I'm just gonna leave that just up blank because I don't really have anything to say on that. Have you ever received a warning or punishment for your behavior in a video game? Nope. I'm perfect. What can I say? And that covers the rest of the survey. Very different survey than I thought it was going to be, but I think it was still interesting to discuss about toxicity because it's been, I think, about a year maybe since I made that video on toxicity. Could have been earlier this year, but time is just flying by for me. But I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments. What did you think about these questions? I know I'm probably in the minority for a handful of these opinions that I talked about in this video, but I'd love to hear what y'all think about all of these things. And if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you hit the like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.